So for our fourth conversation, we want to address the deepening of our ecological conversion through this great turning meditation activity. Tell us about what the great turning activity is and where you came up with it and how we can practice it.
Well, the term the Great Turning was actually coined by David Corton, who's an author from Washington State, and Joanna Macy has has used that term as kind of the movement that's happening right now to bring about a more just, humane, and sustainable world. So I love the way that Joanna Macy talks about the three dimensions of the Great Turning. It's been really helpful for me in finding my own place in this movement. Um, she talks about it as well. One of the metaphors she uses is a wheel, like a the where the rubber hits the road is the what she calls the holding actions, and that's what I think most of us tend to think about when we think about like actions that we can take. So things like recycling, or um, even things like passing legislation like the Clean Water Act and things like that, that basically hold back the harm that we're doing on the earth. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Holding
Yeah.
actions,
And
stopping
it was
bad things from
yeah,
happening and to create the possibility for some good things to happen.
right. So so that's the no, the no part of the three dimensions of the great turning. And then the yes part is like the spokes of the wheel. And that is building an alternative vision. So when this unsustainable way of living on this earth fall away, um, what will be standing in its place? And that might be things like a community supported agriculture or a farmer's market, or it might be parenting in a more intentional way, where teaching your children to be more connected to the earth, or it might be, teaching or liturgies that incorporate um, creation in our spiritual imagination. So anything that involves kind of building an alternative society that shows us how we can live in more harmony with the earth. And then the third dimension of the great turning is kind of the why, and that's the spiritual paradigm shift. That's gonna because we can do all these actions, but if we don't really understand why we're doing them, they aren't going to stick. So, um, so that is right where our book falls into place, and also Laudato Si. It's just giving us this way of having a spiritual conversion and a paradigm shift in how we see the earth as connected to us as our kin, instead of as an object that we walk around on, and our supply house and our sewer, as Joanna Macy would say. So all three of those aspects are absolutely crucial in the Great Turning, and we'll go through different chapters in our life where at one point we might be working in one dimension, and at another point we might be working at a different dimension, and so I find it really helpful in giving a blueprint for how we can engage in the work that's needed, because really it's going to take all of us. We can't bring about the changes needed by just depending on our leaders and our elected officials to do it. We have to each take action and find where, where our motivation, our talents, our life circumstances call us to take action.
So I really like this activity and this whole approach because it reflects the Franciscan tradition of conversion and ongoing conversion. In some traditions, conversion is like one and done, once saved, always saved. But in the Franciscan tradition, conversion is an ongoing process throughout our life, a deepening of our engagement with God, God's love, and God's love for others and the world. And so conversion is something that is not an individual act of the intellectual assent, but it's a whole body, whole life approach to being conformed to Christ. And in this case, through practical actions of compassion. And so conversion is something that Franciscans, at least should, embrace thoroughly. And this great turning provides a little model for thinking about this, for taking the vision of Laudato Si, which talks about ecological conversion many times, but that seems
Mm.
a bit remote for most people. And so the great turning kind of brings it down to the no, the yes, and the why. Like the no is the most immediate things that need to be stopped. The yes is something that is a concrete practice. I think that Joanna talks about the why is really the culture change, or what we might say a new story. Thomas Berry would talk about this as a new ecological story. And really, Laudato Si provides that new story
Yeah.
woven out of the best of our tradition, but with a focus on the present and the future, which I think is so helpful. So I really like teaching this because I spend a lot of time in my classes teaching students to discover their own ecological vocation. And so ecological vocation is like finding where their greatest gifts and heart's desire meet the world's greatest needs. And if we look
Yeah.
at the state of the ecological status of our world, it's pretty, there's a lot of need out there, more than is being met by humans responding. And so this gives people something that's more concrete, the no, the yes, and the why, or the new story. Gives people a sense of something that they can plug into at that moment, but also that they have different moments of their lives. So to me, this is a very powerful tool for being able to bring into our deeper awareness. And again, there's that synonym for spirituality, awareness, ecological awareness into more deeply into our being. And chapter 6 of Laudato Si is titled Ecological Education and Spirituality. It's the only chapter in any encyclical named after with the word spirituality in it. So we could also talk about ecological education and awareness. And so how do we bring that awareness more deeply into us, into our being, through practices? And so this is why I think the great turning is such a great spiritual practice.